Let me ask you something. What if I told you that wealth, real wealth, isn't a matter of age, background, or even luck? That you could be 27 and drowning in debt, or 47 and still starting over, and still end up building a fortune if you just followed 17 simple principles? Sounds like a stretch, right? But this isn't some late-night infomercial or get-rich-quick fantasy. This is exactly how Jim Rohn, a man who started as a broke farm boy in Idaho, became one of the most influential millionaires of the 20th century. Not through hype, not through hustle culture, but by mastering timeless money rules that anyone, including you, can start applying today. And here's the kicker. Jim didn't strike it rich in his 20s. He didn't ride a tech wave or inherit millions. He was nearly 31 when he was flat broke, with less than $200 in the bank and a refrigerator empty enough to echo. Then he met a mentor, and everything changed. But what changed first wasn't his income. It was his mindset, because wealth isn't just a number, it's a philosophy. And Jim Rohn spent his entire life perfecting and teaching that philosophy. Now here's the problem. Most people never hear these 17 rules. Not in school, not from parents, and certainly not from society that tells you to work hard, buy stuff, and hope retirement treats you well. But those rules, they're the difference between a life of quiet financial desperation and a life of true freedom, security, and wealth. In this video, I'm going to walk you through each of the 17 money rules that made Jim Rohn wealthy, and how you can start using them immediately, no matter your age or income. We'll talk about how to build wealth with clarity, how to multiply your income without burnout, how to save without sacrificing joy, and how to make your money grow even while you sleep. Welcome to Wealth Maker Hubs, where your financial awakening begins. This is the place where wealth is not a dream, it's a decision. And here's my promise to you. Stick with me to the end. Because Rule 17 is the one 95% of people ignore, and it's the exact reason they stay broke even when they earn six figures. Ready to change your financial destiny? Let's dive in. Because Jim Rohn once said, if you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree, and today you get to change everything. Act 1, the foundation of wealth. Build up from there, one brick at a time. Because wealth isn't built by accident, it's built by principle. Great. Let's begin. Rule 1. Live on 70% of your income. The discipline that separates the broke from the wealthy. Jim Rohn once said, it's not what you make, it's what you keep that makes you rich. Sounds simple, but here's the twist. Most people don't have an income problem. They have a leakage problem. No matter how much they earn, it vanishes, gone into rent, subscriptions, takeout, and treat-yourself purchases that feel good for 5 minutes and leave nothing behind. Let me break it to you. If your lifestyle expands every time your paycheck does, you're playing a losing game. Jim's rule, live on 70% of what you make, always. And don't just take that as an arbitrary number, there's a deep structure behind it. Here's the breakdown. 70% for lifestyle, rent, groceries, essentials. 10% for active investing, wealth creation. 10% for saving, emergency buffer, future leverage. 10% for giving. Generosity fuels abundance. Now you might be thinking, but I'm barely surviving on 100%. How can I cut down to 70? Fair question. But let's flip that. What if your survival is costing you your future? What if being comfortable now is keeping you from financial freedom forever? Jim Rohn didn't start with millions. He started with a decision. He disciplined his desires, not because it was easy, but because his future deserved it. Pattern interrupt. Ever tried eating spaghetti with a spoon? You might get by, but it's frustrating and messy. That's what budgeting without discipline looks like. Living on 70% isn't about deprivation. It's about strategy. It creates space. And that space is where wealth grows. Because when you master your spending, you take back control of your time, energy, and choices. And here's a cliffhanger. What if I told you the next rule has nothing to do with saving or budgeting, but everything to do with multiplying your value in the marketplace? Let's go there now. Rule 2. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job, because you are the greatest investment you will ever make. This might be Jim Rohn's most quoted principle of all time, and for good reason. Think about it. You can be fired from your job. Your business can collapse. But the one thing no one can take away? The skills, knowledge, and mindset you develop. Jim didn't get wealthy from a lucky break. He became wealthy because he became more valuable. He studied personal development like his life depended on it, because it did. Here's what most people miss. Your income rarely exceeds your personal growth. If you're making $4,000 a month and stuck there, it's not always the job. It's the version of you showing up to that job. Your soft skills, your thinking, your problem solving, your ability to communicate, lead, negotiate, and sell ideas. Want to double your income? Double your value. Read a book a week. Learn to speak. Take online courses. Get around people who challenge your comfort zone. Here's a real-life example. Jim once mentored a janitor who felt stuck. But after learning how to lead, manage, and organize teams, that same janitor became a facilities director at a university. 5x income increase. Not by switching industries, but by upgrading himself. And remember, this rule doesn't expire. Whether you're 26 or 46, the fastest ROI you'll ever see is investing in yourself. So ask yourself, what are you learning this year that your future self will thank you for? Because here's the deal. In the next rule, we're going to learn how to multiply what you have, even when you don't have much, and it's a game changer. Rule 3, multiply your money. Don't just save it. Because saving alone will never make you rich. Jim Rohn was clear on this. It's good to save, but don't just let your money sit. Put it to work. Most people think saving is the golden path to wealth, but here's the trap. Saving is safe, but safety rarely creates fortune. Let's do the math. If you save $500 a month for 10 years in a regular bank account earning 0.01% interest, guess how much you have? Right, about $60,050, barely more than what you put in. But if you invest that same $500 into an index fund earning 8% annually, over 10 years, you've got nearly $91,000. In 20 years, $247,000. That's the power of multiplication over preservation. Jim believed in building wealth with intentional investment. Stocks, mutual funds, real estate, businesses. Anything where your money grows while you sleep. Pattern. Interrupt. Imagine sending your money out like employees. Some sit on the couch, savings. Others hustle 24/7, investments. Which ones do you want more of? Saving protects. Investing multiplies. Jim's rule was to save 10% and invest another 10%, religiously, even when times were tight, especially then. Because wealth doesn't happen by chance. It happens by choice. And here's the real kicker. You don't need a lot to start. You just need to start. Rule 4. Don't let your emotions control your financial decisions because wealth built on. Emotion is wealth that crumbles. Here's the truth. Most people aren't broke because of logic. They're broke because of feelings. Impulse spending, fear-based selling, revenge buying, lifestyle comparison. Sound familiar? Jim Rohn taught that your emotions are powerful allies, but terrible masters. You must discipline your disappointments and master your mindset, or money will always slip away. Example, ever heard of retail therapy? It's real. People feel down, they buy something shiny, and for a moment, they feel in control. But that $300 dopamine hit could cost you $30,000 in long-term wealth. Jim warned against emotional financial decisions because they cause what he called economic regret, that painful realization that your today has robbed your tomorrow. The fix? Have a wealth plan that's boring, one that doesn't rise and fall with every emotion or news headline. When the market crashes, don't panic sell. When friends buy a new car, don't feel the need to match. When you get a raise, don't upgrade your entire lifestyle overnight. Jim's philosophy was this: be emotional in relationships. Be rational in money. Because logic compounds, emotion consumes. Rule 5, become a millionaire, not for the money, but for the person you become. Because wealth isn't the goal. It's the byproduct of growth. Let this one land. Jim Rohn said, Set a goal to become a millionaire not for the money, but for the person you'll have to become to get there. That's not philosophy. That's psychology. And it's pure gold. Because money is just a result. What really matters is who you become in pursuit of it. Disciplined, courageous, strategic, generous, consistent. Want to know why most lottery winners go broke? Because they got the money, but skipped the becoming. Wealth without personal growth is a ticking time bomb. So instead of asking, how can I make more money? Ask, how can I become the kind of person who attracts and keeps wealth? That means building strong habits, thinking long-term, delaying, gratification, taking responsibility, managing time like a CEO. Jim's journey wasn't overnight. He went from broke at 31 to millionaire at 40, 9 years. But every year he grew, and so did his results. Because once you become that person, the money follows. And better yet, it stays. Rule 6. Build a powerful inner circle. Because who you spend time with is who you become. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Now pause and think about that. Your habits, your mindset, even your bank balance, all shaped by your circle. If you spend time with people who complain about money, guess what you start doing? You start making excuses too. But surround yourself with those who talk ideas, opportunities, and long-term growth. Suddenly, wealth feels possible and inevitable. Here's a real-world example. When Jim met his mentor Earl Schoaf, he was broke, skeptical, and directionless. But after months around Schoaf's mindset, his language, and his values, Jim's entire life trajectory changed. He started thinking in decades. He stopped blaming. He learned leverage, systems, and scaling. That's the power of proximity. So here's your test. Look at your 5 closest relationships. Are they pushing you forward or pulling you down? Because every conversation is a deposit into poverty or prosperity. Pattern interrupt. Ever tried climbing a ladder with someone tugging your ankle? Exactly. That's what toxic financial relationships feel like. Be ruthless with your circle. You don't have to cut people off, but you do need to guard your energy like it's your retirement account. Rule 7. Learn to sell. Even if you hate selling. Because money follows communication, not just competence. Most people freeze at the word sales. They imagine sleazy pitches, rejection, or pushy conversations. But here's what Jim Rohn believed. Selling is the gateway to freedom. Why? Because everything in life is a sale. Getting a job, you're selling your value. Starting a business, you're selling a solution. Even dating, you're selling your personality. Jim was once terrified of sales, until he learned one powerful truth. Selling isn't talking people into things. It's helping people say yes to what they already need. He mastered the skill, and his income exploded. He started earning in days what he used to make in months. And no, you don't need to become a salesperson. You just need to become a communicator who builds trust and moves people. Read books on persuasion, learn body language, study negotiation. Watch great speakers and reverse engineer their methods, because the better you get at sales, the more options you have. Rule 8. Let money work while you sleep. Because passive income is the gateway to freedom. Here's the hard truth Jim taught. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. Scary? Yes. Accurate? Absolutely. Most people trade time for money, permanently. They work harder, take on side hustles, and chase overtime. But there's a ceiling. You only have 24 hours in a day. Jim flipped that model. He built income streams that didn't need him to be present. Royalties from books and seminars. Investments that paid dividends. Businesses that ran without him. That's freedom money. Income that doesn't require a clock in. And here's the best part. You can start small. A YouTube channel with affiliate links. A blog with digital products. An investment account. Earning. Compound returns. A course teaching something you know well. Pattern interrupt. Imagine if every time you slept, a tiny version of you was still out there making money. That's passive income. You don't need to be rich to start, but you must start to ever be rich. Rule 9. Be consistent. Even when results are invisible, because discipline is more powerful than motivation. Motivation feels great, but it's fleeting. Jim said it best. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Here's the danger. Most people quit right before their breakthrough. Why? Because they can't see progress fast enough. But wealth isn't loud. It grows in silence. It rewards consistency. Want proof? Warren Buffett earned over 90% of his net worth after age 60. Why? Compound returns, not just in money, but in decades of consistency. Here's Jim's trick. Track small wins. Daily savings. 1 chapter read, 1 hour invested. These micro movements build unshakable momentum. Pattern interrupt. Imagine planting a bamboo seed. For 5 years, nothing happens. Then suddenly, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Was it doing nothing before? No. It was growing underground. That's how wealth works. So ask yourself, what can you commit to for the next 5 years? Without applause, that will explode your future. Rule 10. Buy assets. Not just stuff, because wealth is built through ownership, not spending. Jim Rohn didn't just preach frugality. He preached ownership. He said, don't major in minor things. Don't spend major money on minor rewards. Let's make this clear. A new car, a liability. A designer bag, a liability. Stocks, real estate, intellectual property, assets. Assets are things that put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. The poor buy stuff to look rich. The wealthy buy assets to become rich. Example, 2 people each get a $5,000 tax return. One buys a new iPhone and takes a trip to Mexico. The other buys a high-yield ETF and reinvests the dividends. 10 years later, one has pictures. The other has portfolio income. Jim's rule? Use every dollar as an employee. Ask, what can this dollar do for me in the future? Pattern interrupt. Would you rather wear your money or have your money work for you? One makes you look good for a moment. The other sets you free for life. Rule 11. Read like a millionaire. Learn what schools don't teach, because wealthy minds are made, not born. Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And he lived it. Jim didn't graduate from college, but he read more books than most professors. He studied psychology, sales, finance, philosophy, every subject that shaped powerful lives. Today's successful people? Same story. Warren Buffett reads 5+ hours a day. Elon Musk taught himself rocket science through books. Oprah built her empire from personal development. The best part? It's free or close to it. Libraries, YouTube, podcasts, ebooks. We live in a time where $1 million education is a smartphone away. Pattern interrupt. Netflix costs $15 a month. So does Audible. One gives you entertainment, the other gives you escape velocity. Make the switch. Jim read for 30 minutes a day minimum. Over years, that habit made him a philosopher, businessman, and millionaire. Rule 12. Turn your skills into streams. Because skills pay the bills, but scalable. Skills build wealth. Jim taught that every skill has value if you know how to package it. It's not just what you know. It's how you use what you know. Think about it. A good public speaker? Create a course. A great writer? Build a blog or offer copywriting. An expert in a niche? Start consulting or coaching. Jim leveraged one skill, public speaking, into millions in seminars, books, and business deals. And here's what's exciting. You already have at least one monetizable skill. You just haven't explored the scalable version of it yet. Start with questions like, what do people always ask me for advice on? What problem have I solved that others struggle with? What have I done for 5+ years that others are just starting? Turn that into a product, service, or income stream. Then scale it with the internet. Rule 13. Track everything. Numbers don't lie, because clarity is the gateway to control. Jim Rohn was obsessive about awareness. He tracked his time, his spending, his investments, even his energy. He knew that what gets measured gets improved. And here's the trap. Most people avoid tracking because it forces them to face the truth. They don't want to know how much they spend on fast food. They avoid opening their credit card bills. They estimate their savings, but don't actually check. Jim would say, "The pain of truth is short. The pain of ignorance is forever." Track your income sources, monthly spending, daily time, use investment returns, business KPIs, pattern interrupt. If your money had a GPS, would it say you're heading toward wealth or bankruptcy? You'll never know unless you check the map. Numbers are emotionless. That's why they're powerful. Track weekly, review monthly, adjust quarterly. Rule 14. Play long-term games with long-term people because time magnifies everything. Especially wealth. Jim Rohn's success didn't happen fast. It happened forever. He understood that quick wins are exciting, but compound wins are explosive. He built long-term relationships, long-term businesses, long-term habits. And that's the real secret. Get rich quick fades. Get rich forever compounds. Example. Jim didn't just do one seminar. He did hundreds. Those seminars turned into books, referrals, courses, and an empire. So here's the shift. Stop asking, "How can I make fast money?" Start asking, "What can I build that pays me forever?" Relationships, brands, investments. Think decades, not days. Rule 15. Get insured and stay protected. Because one emergency can erase a decade of growth. Jim didn't just grow wealth, he guarded it. He understood that one accident, one lawsuit, one illness could wipe out years of progress. Most people ignore this until it's too late. No health insurance? One hospital visit, ill bankruptcy. No disability insurance? One injury, ill zero income. No estate plan? One death equals chaos for your family. Jim built walls around his financial house. You must do the same. Have emergency funds. Get insured. Health, disability, life. Protect your assets with legal structures. Pattern. Interrupt. Imagine planting a money tree, but never putting a fence around it. How long until someone or something destroys it? Wealth isn't just about growing it, it's about keeping it. Rule 16. Give generously, but wisely, because giving opens doors that greed never will. Jim believed that wealth without contribution is spiritual poverty. He gave to causes, mentored rising entrepreneurs, and supported people on their own journey to success. But he didn't believe in blind generosity. He gave strategically, where his money made the most impact. His rule? Don't just give to feel good. Give to do good. And here's the paradox. The more you give with wisdom, the more the world gives back. Time, energy, capital, all have compounding effects when aimed at others. Example. Jim once mentored a young man who later brought him a business deal worth 6 figures. Not because he asked, but because he gave first. So give 10% of your income, a few hours a week mentoring your knowledge through content. Because in the end, your legacy will be defined not by what you kept, but by what you gave. Rule 17. Have a philosophy, not just a budget, because principles build fortunes, not tactics. Jim Rohn said, "If you don't develop your own life philosophy, you'll fall into someone else's. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much." Every tactic we've discussed, it means little without a guiding philosophy. Jim's philosophy was simple. Value over vanity, growth over gratification, discipline over desire, freedom over fear. And he reviewed this philosophy daily. It shaped every financial decision, every relationship, every investment. If you only follow tactics, you'll get temporary results. But if you adopt a philosophy, you'll build unshakable wealth. Your mission now is to create your own wealth code. Not just how to get rich, but why. Because the why will keep you going when the how gets hard. If Jim Rohn were alive today, he'd leave you with one final truth. It's not about what you make. It's about what you keep and what it becomes over time. And nothing grows wealth like the power of compounding. So if you've made it this far, you're ready for the next level. Click on the video on your screen now. The Power of Compounding, How to Turn $100 into $1 million. It's the follow-up you need, because that's where the real wealth acceleration begins. Remember, you don't need to be born rich. You just need to learn what the rich were taught. And now, go build. Now that you've absorbed the 17 money rules that shaped Jim Rohn's extraordinary wealth journey, remember this: knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. These principles don't work unless you do. So take action. Start today. Start where you are. And trust that your future self will thank you. If you found this video valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to Wealth Maker Hubs, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a wealth-shifting insight.